Hello and welcome back to the podcast that will get you out of that family reunion. Welcome back to the podcast that will tell you when enough is enough. Welcome back to the podcast that will join you to throw rocks at people. Welcome back to the podcast that will teach you a dead language. Welcome back to the podcast that actually turned down the role of Dr. Doom. Welcome back to the podcast that will read you a bedtime story and then stare at you while you sleep. Welcome back to the podcast that knows how Game of Thrones should have ended. Welcome back to the podcast that will gladly hold your hand while you bet your life savings away. Welcome back to the best part of your week. Welcome back to another episode of the Love, Death and Movies podcast, Internet's #1 film breakdown and review show. The show that crushes watch lists week after week. Every month is a different genre. Every week is a different film in that genre. So follow us on everything. Join us on the ride and let's watch some movies. Ash, one day I'm going to do that in one breath. I'm going to die. I keep saying that, but it's like...
One day.
You know, I finished it. I'm like, my heart is going. My heart is going. With me this week and every week. Pride of the West Coast, birthday girl. Happy birthday, Ash. Ash vs. Movies. Ash, you turned 21. Well done.
Yeah, I know. I had my first drink yesterday.
Nice.
Finally.
What was it? What
margarita. Strawberry margarita.
Strawberry margarita. That's unreal. How are you, Ash? How was your week? Tell me everything.
I'm good. I just want the listeners to know that I don't approve those introductory statements, so don't come at me. That's all Harry.
You actually wrote them this time, Ash, and you sent it to me, especially the rocks one.
I would never throw rocks at anyone. That's a lie.
That's crazy because you sent it. That's crazy.
Okay. Yeah, my week is fine. I only worked 3 days this week, but it felt like it was like 8 days. Work felt like that many days. It was just a lot. Oh, yeah. I don't know why. Just really busy. Kind of stressful right now, but yeah. Then I went out for Mexican food for my birthday yesterday. Got my first drink, as a legal 21-year-old. It was great.
Nice.
Got carded by the waitress, and she was so genuine about it. I was like, yes, I will show you my ID gladly.
That's hilarious.
That made me feel great and youthful and young, and it was everything.
What age can you vote in America? Is it 18?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, nice. Oh, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just like,
you can vote before you can drink. It's great.
That's nuts.
Drink before you can buy or not buy, but before you can do a rental car. Like actually,
wow.
Sign up to get a rental car on your own. You have to be 25. So
that's crazy. So you got 4 years until you can get a rental car.
Yeah, I can't do it on my own. I'm basically just like an adult child that can drink.
That's crazy. Yeah, we got everything's just 18 here in Australia.
Yeah, that's how it probably should be, but. No.
Finish school, you can vote and get a beer. It's kind of awesome.
Like the winner.
Yeah, this is the land of the free, home of the brave, you know what I mean?
And the land of the gamblers, apparently.
Oh, yeah, we're a big gambling culture. We're a huge gambling culture over here, which is great. It's good fun. Like, we get sports commentators, and they're just like, they finish like a play on the field, and they're like, here's a multi that you should put down. And it's like a multiple bet. And you're like, that's fun. It's good fun. You just don't gamble your life away. Anyway, speaking of that, this is the start of a new month, Ash. Well done. Yes, month of August. We're starting up the month of Alfred Hitchcock, mainly because I love him and also because you haven't seen too much of him. So it's kind of like two birds, one stone. Like I get to scratch an itch and you get to grow a muscle, I guess, in film knowledge. I don't know. Yeah, I was like, I don't know where I was going with that. But we're starting up the month with Dial M for Murder, which actually is a massive hole for me in my Hitchcock knowledge that I've just never seen this film. This is just one of his major ones that I've just never gotten to see. But it was made in 1954, directed by Sir Alfred Hitchcock. Quick synopsis. Is this the man she was waiting for or the man who was waiting for her? An ex-tennis pro carries out a plot to have his wealthy wife murdered after discovering she is having an affair, and assumes she will soon leave him with the other man anyway. So, Ash, before we get into this, you've told me how your week was.
I know, I was gonna say, I was just about to ask. I didn't get to say how are you. My week was my week. It was, a couple days of very long work days, and then my birthday and turning 21, and now I'm here. So
nice. Well, we're doing this half an hour earlier, and you can kind of tell because I'm sleepy. So, apologies, listeners. But yeah, my week was good. Work's crazy. It's getting to that point of the year where it's like every week feels like 3 weeks. But it just is what it is. You just got to tough it through it. It's good shit. Can't wait to watch some movies, back end of it, which will be good fun. But yeah, I got to see Trap this week, the M. Night Shyamalan film. I fucking love M. Night. He's just exciting. Love him or hate him, he is exciting. And so I'm going to try and do a review for that in the next couple of days. So it'll probably be out before this comes out. I need to get back to doing regular TikToks. I do need to. It's just
Me too.
just being a how old are we? 21-year-old people. It takes its toll.
It does take its toll on you. It really
Yeah,
does.
crazy. We've been 21 for a while as well. Quite a while.
10 years for me.
Nice. Well, this movie was made with a budget of $1.4 million dollars, and the box office was $6 million. And Hitchcock always thought this was going to be like a lesser sort of box office because one of the main elements of this film coming out was that it was in 3D. So Warner Brothers insisted on shooting the movie in 3D, although the craze was fading, and Sir Alfred Hitchcock was sure that the movie would be released flat. Hitchcock wanted to first shoot the first shot to be that of the close-up finger dialing the M on the rotary dial telephone, but the 3D camera was just not able to focus on such a close-up correctly. Hitchcock ordered a giant finger made out of wood with a proportionally large dial in order to achieve the effect in the end. But that was really cool. I thought that's pretty cool. And then can't really think of movies being in 3D in the 50s. That's pretty cool.
My brain got quite confused by that. I feel like my knowledge of that era of film is not as good as I want it to be. So I actually don't know as much about the filmmaking process of that late 40s, early 50s time frame. Oh, so when you said that, my brain just got totally confused because my mind goes to modern 3D. You know what I mean? It's just so different. But back then, yeah, when you can kind of tell when a movie is more three-dimensional versus flat from that more old Hollywood style.
Hell yeah. Yeah, nice. Ash, before we get into the actual film, what do you think of it? This is both our first times watching it. What do you think of Dial for Murder?
Yeah, no, I really liked it. It was only, I guess, my third Hitchcock. I had thought I had only seen Psycho, but I realized today I had seen one other. I was just telling you, To Catch a Thief, which also stars Grace Kelly, and she kind of plays a similar character. This one has a little bit more of an emotional, I guess, performance with some of her scenes, but yeah, very similar character, similar vibe and attire. Obviously she was a classic actress of that time, so it's always nice to see her on screen. I did enjoy the cast, the main, I guess, three, and then even the inspector. He was good fun to watch.
He was great, wasn't he?
Yeah, unfolded what he thought was happening. No, I really liked it. I don't know if I've just seen too many mystery thrillers now, or I don't know, this whole want to kill your wife because of an affair. The trope, it just always makes me laugh a little bit because I just feel like men will do anything but just actually speak to their partner about what's happening.
Did you see my review?
Yes, it made me laugh. But yeah, it's a good time. I did enjoy the middle chunk where the narrative starts to get much more into creating all these different versions of what could have happened. He's having to adapt to what he's kind of saying happened based on what they're finding out. And he thinks he's going to get away with it. And I love that build up all the way until the end. I actually think I liked the second chunk of the movie better. Once he actually attempts it and it doesn't work out, that through the end was really fascinating to me. Because obviously you can kind of predict the movie up until that point. So yeah, I thought it was really enjoyable, had some really cool, I guess, camera work and shots. I really like that era of movie, just how it's filmed. It's so different than anything we see nowadays. So it's always fun to see what the cars look like and what the street shots look like, just because it's done so differently than modern film. So yeah, I really enjoyed my time, and I think it's not I don't think it's going to be my favorite from him, just knowing what I know about some of his other movies we're going to watch. But I do think that it's a pretty solid thriller storyline. I think it definitely has that twist, but just not quite enough for it to be a favorite for me, but definitely still really solid.
That's fair. No, I love that. These are my type of movies. These I'm a close setting slut. You know this.
You are.
And the entire film was basically, I think I've got a fact in here, so I won't go too deep into it, but almost the entire film was shot indoors, so that it's a bit of sense of claustrophobia. But I love this movie. It's just so well articulated. It's this movie lives or dies on the script, right? And I thought the script was kind of perfect. It's just all about this perfect crime, and it breaks with one single little aspect. That's it. This one little thing completely destroyed this entire crime. which I think is fantastic. I thought, yeah, Grace Kelly, man, she's a smoke show. You know what I mean? Holy smokes!
When you're blonde.
Oh my god! Like, gee whiz. I wouldn't kill it. I'll just put that out there. I'll probably go to therapy. But yeah, I agree with you that aspect's pretty hilarious. But this is just it's filmed like a stage play. Like this,
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking the entire time.
yeah, I was like, I'd watch the shit out of this at a theater, like absolutely. But that's majority of Hitchcock's.
I was just thinking that, yeah.
Majority of his is just like thriller plays, which is really cool. I can't wait for you to watch Rear Window. To be honest, I can't wait to rewatch Rear Window. I think it's gonna be great fun. But yeah, I love this film. I think this movie's great. Is it my favorite Hitchcock? No. But it's definitely up there for sure. I just think it's written immaculately and it's just really smart. And it's just an unfolding. It's just like one of those old school crime novels that you'd watch from like Agatha Christie, and you're like, but you're not reading of like who did it or who done it. It's more just like, can he get caught? And yeah,
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's not a whodunit. It's we know exactly what's supposed to happen, but it's like a can he get out of this? Like,
yeah,
can he actually not get caught? Is he gonna get caught in the web of lies? Is it gonna like not work out for him? I was very curious, like with that, like I said, the second chunk, like how's this gonna go? Like he didn't expect that she was gonna obviously fight back. So yeah, it's a really interesting narrative. And I think you're right, the script really is what drives it. It's not so much the like actual like suspense elements, I guess, like more of the like with Psycho, how you have more of like the eerie music and the build up. This one was much more dialogue driven, which is interesting, I think.
absolutely. Yeah, the score I thought was awesome, but
Yep,
yeah, this one is like, yeah, it lives and dies on its script for sure.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Let's get into the movie, Ash. So I haven't really broken this up, so I'm just going to stop periodically. But again, if you got anything to say, Ash, just butt in, scream at me.
I will.
Tony Wenders, because they keep saying like Wenders is coming. Yeah, sorry. Tony Wenders is a former tennis pro who's married Margot Grace Kelly, and holy smokes, partly for her money. Crazy that he's a former tennis pro and he's marrying
Yeah.
for money. I thought that was a bit weird, but I guess tennis just didn't pay that well back in the day. To please his wife, he's given up tennis and now sells sport equipment. Margot once had a relationship with Mark Halliday, played by Robert Cummings, who is a good-looking chap. An American crime script writer, but broke it off when he went back to the US for a year. Where are they located, by the way? Because
He mentioned Chelsea, so I think it's the UK.
UK. Okay. Oh
I think
yeah,
it's
because
London.
you saw like the police officers had the hats that like, yep.
They
Okay.
call them inspectors, which I feel like is like not even just an old school thing. It's also like a difference of like country.
Yeah, that's true. They do. Yeah, they can look a lot of like the British crime shows. They call them that. Yeah, that's true. In time, they stop writing to each other, and when Mark returns to London, she tells him that she's burned all the letters but one. Margot explains to Mark that the letter was stolen by a blackmailer who demanded £50, and I guess that was a lot of money then. So Margot paid them by mailing the money to a pawn shop, which was intended, but the money was never picked up and the letter was never returned. Mark tells Margot that he wants to tell Tony about them so that she can divorce Tony so that she and Mark can be together and live happily ever after. But Margot refuses after fear of hurting Tony's feelings. Now, we can agree Tony needs therapy in this
Yep.
film. He does. So does Margot. Like, absolutely. She doesn't want to divorce him because you hurt his feelings. Grow up. Grow up. Just divorce him.
I mean, it fits the time period so well. I feel like as
Yeah,
far
probably.
as, people stayed in marriages a lot differently than they do now back in the 50s.
That's very true. That's very true. And by the way, if anyone's in need, like, we know the best divorce lawyers here. So give us a write into the show. We'll be able to give you a number. It'll probably be me. I'll be representing
Or
you.
Charlie Kelly.
Yeah.
He's more in bird law, but he does do some divorce law.
Yeah, Charlie Kelly. Hell yeah, that'd be good fun. I would actually pay a good amount of money for him to represent me. It is also revealed that Tony and Margot have made their wills naming each other the beneficiary with assets and money totaling to £90,000. For a year, Tony meticulously plans Margot's murder. She has no idea that Tony knows her love for Mark. He has gone to great lengths to steal a handbag containing Mark's letters and even assumed the role of anonymous Brixton-based blackmailer to find out whether she would pay to have it back or not. She did, but he asked for only £50, and she did not, of course, get the letter back. So yeah, he even watched them have a little farewell party, eating spaghetti with mushrooms in Mark's studio flat in Chelsea, which is kind of weird. But it's kind of heartbreaking, these scenes. Like, I had no idea what this movie was about, to be honest. I didn't know that he was, like, planning her murder. But, like, the way that he found out about her affair, I thought was pretty heartbreaking. He was just, like, watching from the street, and they're just... The way he described it was just, like, they weren't intimate, but they felt comfortable. They looked comfortable, something like that.
Yeah, it almost probably is worse because I feel like, people talk about affairs. It's like the emotional affair is usually more painful than like just a physical affair or something like that. So I feel like maybe he worded it that way because when you're comfortable, that's probably a bit more threatening. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't just like a one time, one night thing. It's like he had to see her looking pretty comfortable with somebody else.
That's a very good point.
That's deeper. That's definitely gonna make you want to murder her and not deal with your emotions.
You know what? I'm on Tony's side now. Yeah, I'm on Tony's side. Yeah, that's a great way to put it, Ash. Well done. Tony slyly withdraws small amounts of money for a year, collecting $1,000 in used £1 notes, which he plans to pay a contract killer. $1,000. That's all it took back in the day. He singles out the perfect man to do it. The perfect man? Okay. Charles Alexander, also known as C.A. Swan, played by Anthony Dawson, who I thought was perfect in this. Like, just his look. He was just, like, very creepy and weird. Especially, like, this... Yeah, the scenes where it's like you see him in the shadows and stuff, and all you see is kind of his eyes. I thought that was great. Who now calls himself Captain Lesgate, a former acquaintance who has embarked on his life of petty crime since even before leaving Cambridge, where he and Tony were both students. But by following him and finding out about his past and associations, Tony soon gets enough to blackmail Swan into murdering his wife. There's not that much here to blackmail him on, to be honest. I don't want to break down a film like that, like break it apart, but it's just petty crimes. And you're asking him to kill a woman. Like, I thought that was a bit weird.
I mean, I feel like he ended that moment though where they were talking kind of with the impression of like just like threatening him, more like, well, it's your word against mine now. Your fingerprints are on this. I've gotten you to touch all of these things. Like,
that's true.
He was feeling pretty confident. I think that's what Tony led with the entire movie. He was really confident that this was all going to work out.
I think he was insanely confident until the absolute very end.
Yeah. Do you see the look on his face when he realized, like, we can get to the ending later, but
it's so good.
I thought the ending was perfect. The way that he just like, he knew.
Yeah, he's just like, he's like, congratulations, well done. And he's like pouring drink. We'll get to it, of course. So he's like pouring drinks. He's like, and you, Inspector, are you still on the shift? And Inspector's like, okay. Yeah, awesome. Tony uses the opportunity of Mark's return to London to carry out his plan. Under the pretext that he has prepared an urgent report for his boss, he has Margot and Mark go to the theatre, and then when they're gone, he invites Swan to his flat under the pretext of wanting to buy an expensive car from him. Again, the expensive car was $1,100, putting it out there. When Swan arrives at the estate that night, Tony straight away gets down to business. I like that phrase. There is no time to lose, as he has to plan a murder for the following night. Trapped in a corner by the revelations of his past crimes and tempted by money, Swan reluctantly agrees to carry out the murder. Tony has invited Mark to join him at a stag party at the nearby hotel. This is how he secludes himself as an alibi, this idea was genius, to be honest to me. The idea is that the police should still be thinking that the burglar was there to was surprised by Margot, that he panicked, strangled her, and left without the loot. He was told Swan was going to phone his apartment at exactly... He told Swan that he was going to phone his apartment at exactly 11 p.m. so that Margot would come out to the living room, answer the phone, whereby she'll be murdered by Swan. There are two keys to the household. Before leaving the stag parties, Tony steals Margot's key from her handbag and hides it under the stair carpet outside the flat. for Swan to use. So fun fact here, Sir Alfred Hitchcock made special effort to shoot scenes indoors almost exclusively. Only a few brief shots, including involving the Chief Inspector Hubbard, takes place outside. Hitchcock believed that this decision to shoot most of the scenes indoors would create a huge sense of claustrophobia, and it did for me. So what do you think about this beginning, Ash? You know, the pretext of this crime, because I do believe one of the best scenes is him basically swindling Swan, getting him into murdering his wife. I thought that scene was genius.
Yeah. No, I think in this first chunk, to be honest with you, my only scene that really like is memorable to me is when they're talking. And kind of running through everything and just the way the camera like is the way it's shot on them. Again, it feels very play-esque. And like I've been in a lot of plays in my life. Obviously, they were just like high school like plays. They weren't anything crazy, but it is very like reminiscent of setting up like a set. Like the room felt like a set and like someone
Big time
put that up like in a obviously like on a lot, you know, on a studio lot, and it felt very much claustrophobic. I didn't feel like that much of the claustrophobia effect, but now that you're saying it, it makes a lot of sense. I don't typically feel claustrophobic in general, so maybe it's just a me thing. But I do see how it could like it definitely added to the suspense to know that they were kind of in this really small enclosed space. As far as everything else, I think it's really shitty that she's just casually hanging out with her lover and her husband together, like acting like it's normal.
Yeah.
Like it's fine if you want to have a male friend. I'm not saying that's totally fine, but you know that you're in love with this guy and having an affair with him and you're just casually hanging out with him and your husband. That feels a little psychotic.
It does. And her whole thing of just like, oh, I just don't want to hurt his feelings. You're like, dude, you're severely disrespecting this man by doing it right in front of him.
Like I'm not saying she should be murdered, but it's kind of shitty.
She knows the implication. She knows.
But yeah, no, I think that scene's really good. I think, like you said, it is a little funny because some of the crimes are kind of like no big deal. It's like what he like listed the car for like $300 more. You know, it's not like we're not talking about like major crimes here, but I think it's the confidence that he brings about here that makes the guy really nervous. But I do find it a little unbelievable that this guy could be a hitman. I mean, what qualifications does he have, really? He's done some minor criminal activity, and now he's solid to murder you. I don't know. Seems a little bit risky, Tony, to hire this guy to kill your wife. That's probably why it didn't work out. So...
yeah, agreed.
At the end of the day, he's not thinking straight, and if he would just go to therapy, maybe he could work through some of this.
We can work through it. I'll go there with you. Like, we'll work through it together, Tony. No worries at all. But Mark, a writer of crime scenarios, says at one point, theoretically, he'd be able to plan the perfect murder, but it was impossible to carry out any plan of his because in real life, people just do not act according to other people's plans. I wonder what's going to happen. This is true of Margot too. Instead of listening to the radio in her bedroom when Tony and Mark are away, she tells her husband that she has her own plans to go to the cinema that night. Hell yeah, she's a movie gal. I get it. Mm-hmm. Tony has a hard time persuading his wife to instead stay at home and stick into an album of some old newspaper clippings of his for when he was a tennis star. Margot finally consents and for that reason takes seemingly huge pair of scissors out from a mending basket, which we will probably see a bit later. When she finishes the tiresome job, she goes to bed, carelessly leaving the scissors on the desk alone next to the phone. I don't think that's that careless, if I'm being honest. It's her apartment. They can do whatever they want. If they want to leave the scissors next to the phone, they're not children. According to Tony's plan, Swan secretly enters the household shortly before 11 p.m., hides behind the drawn curtains, a scarf in his hand, and waits by the telephone, waiting for it to ring and for Margot to come out of her bedroom to answer it. At the stag party, Tony plans nearly go wrong. When his wristwatch stops working and he asks for the time, and when he learns it's a few minutes past 11, he is late. So he hurriedly leaves the ballroom and goes to a payphone in the hotel lobby to make the call. Tony just makes a call at exactly the moment where Swan is considering to leave the flat alone. As expected, Margot gets up, entering the living room, and answers the phone. When she does that, the plan goes terribly wrong. Swan attacks her from behind with Tony's listening to what is going on over the phone. Margot turns out to be rather strong and eventually stabs Swan in the back with the scissors that was left on the desk. He falls backwards onto the ground and right onto the scissors and is dead at once because that looks like it's going to be fatal. In his panic, Tony tells his sobbing wife not to touch or do anything until he comes home, which he hurriedly does. So fun fact here, Sir Alfred Hitchcock had chosen a very expensive robe for Grace Kelly to wear when she answered the phone, just because it was the moment of the film, right? Kelly balked and said that no woman would put on such a robe just like that just to answer a ringing telephone while she was asleep alone. She would answer it in her nightgown. Hitchcock agreed to that, to do it her way, and liked the way that the rushes turned out. He allowed Kelly to make all costume decisions for herself in their subsequent movies together because it made much more sense. So clearly nervous, Tony has to work fast now if he wants to come up with a new plan to kill Margot. He soon realizes that he could make it look as if Margot had been blackmailed by Swan, that he came to the flat in person, and that she actually let him let him in with the intention of murdering him, rather than killing him in self-defense, which should have easily been an argument in court, is what it is. Apologies. After calling the police and sending Margot back to bed, he plants Mark's letter of Swan to make it appear that he was the one who blackmailed Margot, and finds the latchkey of Swan and puts it in Margot's handbag and burns the scarf that Swan used, replacing it with the one of Margot's stockings. He hides the twin stocking at the desk intentionally and accidentally uncovers it for the police to find when he's doing the coffee or tea. Also, tea. Sorry to stop it. Tea in Britain. Tea sucks. Tea's terrible. You should go to jail for the rest of your life if you enjoy tea.
Just tea in general, or are you specifically talking about English tea?
English tea. Iced tea can stay. Sweet tea, you've got a seat at my table. No worries. Mm-hmm. No worries. Like grandma's sweet tea, absolutely.
Yeah.
Have a seat down.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I don't like English tea at all. I drink peppermint tea. That's pretty much, it's like non-caffeinated. I'll drink black iced tea sometimes, but I just like green tea, like when just like on a hot, not a hot winter day. Wow. A cold winter day, not a hot day. Hot tea on a cold winter day. There you go.
Fair
That's
play.
the one.
Nice. Well, yeah. Well, I guess we're on the same page. We're not going to prison. Finally, Tony tells Margot to deny that he told her not to call the police, which I thought's a bit weird. This guy's such a loser. Although he tells her that it will lessen the police's suspicion, it had the opposite effect, making it appear as though she had avoided calling the police. Eventually, the police established that Swan came in through the hall door rather than the French windows leading into the garden, as his shoes were dirty and that he'd wiped them on the mat. After an intermission, we're introduced to Inspector Hubert, who's played by John Williams. Not the same guy that you're probably thinking of there.
Right.
Who questions the family, the husband and wife, and appears to believe that the evidence that Tony planted eventually becoming more suspicious of Margot herself. The movie cuts immediately to a trial scene where she's convicted and sentenced to be hanged, thus accomplishing Tony's plan after all. So Ash, what do you think about these scenes, about the whole murder kind of taking place and the quick, tangent into kind of getting, trying to make it seem that she murdered him rather than in self-defense? And what do you think about how she's sentenced to death?
I have a lot of thoughts about this chunk. This part of the movie was frustrating me a lot because I was very nervous that it was actually going to end with her getting stuck, being okay, she's not a great person, but I don't think she deserves to be convicted of a murder she didn't really commit.
She doesn't deserve death. Yeah.
What? I mean, I'm sorry. We're in 1954, and that means that if you kill a man accidentally with scissors, that you get hung the next day. What? What?
In your household as well.
What?
In your household as well.
Oh, yeah. I can't. That part was, honestly, I was getting kind of frustrated if that was how it was going to actually end, because I was like, that's not fair. Margot does not deserve that. She should be honest about what she's doing, but if she actually gets hung by the end of this movie, I'm going to be pissed off. So Thank you, Hitchcock, for not ending it that way.
Spoilers.
Well, yeah, obviously. If you're listening to this, I'm sorry. If you haven't seen the movie, that's your fault. We're like 20 minutes in.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, sorry. Backing to the actual murder, I really liked the way the murder was shot. I think it was really cool. It was actually kind of
Absolutely.
terrifying when he fell back on the scissors and it like went in his back a little bit more. I was like, okay, there's that like horror element coming out
Mm.
a little bit.
There was a jump scare as well, where the camera went back to her
Yeah.
and he was behind her.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. It actually, yeah, it did get me a little bit. But yeah, she's obviously more able to fight back than he was expecting because I don't know if he was just expecting that she would just like fall over and not even try to protect herself,
She was a
but
baddie.
the scissors came in clutch. They really did. But yeah, I think that when the inspector comes, I think it gets kind of fun. I think he's a fun addition to Tony, and the way that you can't really be sure, is he actually trusting Tony? Is he kind of on to him the whole time? I feel like if I watch this again, I'd probably pick up on like, can I tell that he's maybe catching on sooner than I thought he was? So I really like once he comes around, and I like that also like Mark gets involved too, and they like the three of them are. It's really it's unexpected for what the storyline is. So that part I thought was really enjoyable and added to like the mystery of it all and kind of trying to figure out what was going to happen. But I felt really bad for Margot this whole time. I was just like, she better not get hung. I'm going to be pissed. So that's where my mind was during this part.
We can't, like, I've come to learn over the years, you can't kill a smoke show. Just not going to happen in these movies. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
No. So they're more an idea. And ideas are bulletproof, Ash, as we all know. Yeah, I love this scene. I thought this scene is actually, like, for a 50s film, was kind of terrifying. Like that, and like he's just like listening onto the phone, and you could tell he's like desperate for like just to be like done. And then like when she picks up the phone and she's like, "Hello," and like again to like try and find him, and he's just like, "Shit." Like you can tell like his face just like drops. I thought that was really cool.
Oh, I do like the phone shot too. Whenever Tony is dialing and you do see the M, it does look really cool. That was a moment where I was like, "Ooh, look, it's happening." It was almost like the version of, instead of saying the title of the movie, they were like showing it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're like Leo DiCaprio
Yeah.
out
I
of
can't do the whistle, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yep. Nice. However, there are two things Tony had not reckoned with. A, that Swan had replaced the key under the stair carpet immediately after using it and opened the door, and accordingly the key he had taken out of the dead man's pocket is the key to Swan's own flat. And B, that getting rid of $1,000 in cash, the money that he would have paid for Swan, which he does not have to now that he is dead, by making many purchases is a copious thing, a bit suspicious thing to do, and is bound to be investigated by the police if he does it, or which it is, although Tony's just not aware of this at all. Several months later, after the day before Margot's scheduled execution, Mark visits Tony to propose a very unusual thing for him to do. Rather than seeing his wife hanged, he could come up with a completely new story, confess at the last minute that he hired Swan to kill his wife and to save her life by going to prison for some years himself instead. Okay, this is insane that if he did this and he would only go to prison, but she did it, she would get killed? Like...
That's what I didn't understand. Like, I mean, it was 54. So my thought was like, is this just a time when women were, I mean, they were treated like shit. So maybe that's what it is. Or maybe Mark just doesn't understand that the same outcome would happen.
Yeah, maybe that.
Or I don't know. I thought the same thing though.
Interesting. Yeah. Coincidentally, Mark has come up with exactly what Tony actually did. I thought this was actually kind of funny.
Yep.
And Tony's like, yeah, and what else? Like, I love how he mentions it to the inspector after. He goes, and if I did tell this story, would anyone believe it? And he's like,
The acting is so good from the main actor that I feel like it really sells that whole like second chunk of the movie where they're going through all of that.
Yeah, he's great, isn't he? He's great. He originally, though, speaking of, Sir Alfred Hitchcock wanted Cary Grant to star in this film.
I do love Cary Grant.
Yeah, but Warner Brothers felt like he would be miscast as a villain, so they didn't allow it. Fun fact for you there, Ash. Take that one to the bank. So coincidentally, Mark had come up with exactly what Tony did. Mark argues that Tony, during the Margot's trial, all the arguments revolved around three things. One, Mark's letter found on Swan. Two, the fact that no key was found on Swan. And that there was no forced entry either. And three, Margot's stalking. Mark argues that all these could have been altered and that Tony could put the blame on himself, claiming that he was the one who had done it. The inspector arrives at the flat again, purposely. Oh no, just to ask, sorry, I wrote a word that I cannot read, just to ask Tony about the money that he'd been spending lately. This was when Mark discovers Tony's attache case filled with the remaining £1 notes and presents it to Hubert when he inquires to Tony about the suitcase. Now, I was thinking about this last night. I'm not a very smart man, Ash, but if I had an extra £1,000, which at that time was a lot of money, and I needed to get rid of it, I would just leave it somewhere. Just go, like, put it in the bin. Like you're already in you're financially not have this money, right?
Yeah.
But if you spend this money, you're gonna leave a paper trail. You know what I mean?
It's kind of stupid. Yeah, there's some dumb decisions that are made.
Just leave it on the doorstep of a homeless shelter or
Mhm.
something, or like just literally go to homeless people for a day and give them like £50, £50, £50. Like that's what I would have done, and you know what? I would have gotten away with it.
But that's the
I
best part, I feel like, is that he thinks he's so smart and he's so confident. But it's like, look at Mark. Mark thought of the whole plan that he thought of on the fly. So it's like, I feel like you kind of, as it unfolds, you learn that Tony's not as smart as he thinks he is.
No, he's not. But
Right? That's kind of, to your point, that's what I think the intention is.
yeah, absolutely. He's in like because the inspector keeps like talking as if he's on Tony's side, but he's not at all, which
Hmm.
I think I love that. So pressed for an answer, Tony manages a final impromptu lie in front of both Mark and the inspector. He tells him that this is the money that Margot had ready when she met Swan, but she changed her mind and killed him instead of paying him off. The inspector accepts the explanation and dismisses Mark's theory, or so it seems. In fact, the inspector, who had not given up on the case yet, remains suspicious of Tony and sets up a trap. He borrows the key from Margot's handbag, which he kept in prison, and goes to Tony's flat while Tony is not home. He finds that it does not work. He discovers that the key actually fits Swan's door. After searching, he discovers the actual key under the carpet of where Tony had put it. I thought this scene was really cool because they don't show it really of him like going to the door. He's like, it's just more out of conversation. But again, it's that one little aspect of this whole plan makes it all go up in flames. Then the inspector uses his final trick. He visits Tony to ask some questions, and when he leaves, he deliberately takes Tony's raincoat instead of his own. The raincoats are very similar because all men are the exact same. Tony also leaves his flat. The inspector secretly enters the flat using the key from the raincoat and telephones the prison and asks that Margot be released. Margot, who does not understand why she's being released, goes home and finds the key in her handbag just does not fit the lock. The inspector waits some time. He wants to find out whether she knows the hiding place under the stair carpet or not. She does not. So it's clear that she's cleared of any suspicion. The inspector opens the door for her. Hubert tells a colleague to take the handbag back to the police station. Hubert and Margot then wait for Tony's homecoming. When Tony comes home, he realizes that he cannot get inside. He's wearing Hubert's raincoat and Hubert's key. Hubert's the inspector. Hubert and Margot, along with Mark, hide themselves inside and do not open the door. Then Tony remembers that he'd been told to collect Margot's belongings from the police station. So he goes there to fetch the handbag, and within the handbag would be the key. When he comes home, he finds that the key from Margot's handbag, actually Swan's, does not fit the lock. So Tony starts thinking, what could have happened? When he takes the key under the stair carpet, he gives himself away. This is it. Plan foiled. Tony enters the room to find Margot and the inspector and Mark too. He realizes he's been found out and congratulates the inspector. After appearing surprised that he had finally been found out, Tony then offers everyone a drink, acting very casual as tears become to stream down his wife's face. The last scene is of the inspector acting in a very manner that shows he's very proud of himself, as he combs his moustache, as he makes a phone call to inform Scotland Yard that he had caught Tony. That is Dial M for Murder. Ash, what do you think about these final scenes of the foiling of the plan? And give me your final rundown of this film and your score, please.
Yeah. No, I love this trick. I was like getting excited. I don't know if you saw my face as you were talking about it. I think this is like the best part of the movie. I think especially.
Easily.
Yeah, I think him and Mark having the conversation about what he could do to basically play out his plan that he really did, and the fact that Mark's thinking of it. I love that whole moment. It's I don't know, these two guys that should be on opposite ends, and he's over here basically thinking up the exact same plot that Tony's already done but didn't work out. And like you said, it's like that one little detail, which that's how these things always go. There's always one little detail they don't think of, and it changes the trajectory of that word is so hard to say,
Trajectory.
trajectory of
Yeah.
everything. So I think that's a really fun aspect to these types of suspense movies because I didn't see that coming, the key part, because you don't see it. Like you
You
said,
don't.
like you consider it, but I had forgotten about it until it was brought back around at the end, which is what I wanted. You want to kind of not, I don't like guessing the twist in movies personally. I think it ruins it. I know people, one of them is my husband, and he'll be like, "Oh, I figured out what's going to happen 20
Mm.
minutes in." And then he's like, "I already figured it out." I'm like, "You suck. Why can't you just let it happen, you
You
know?"
suck.
So these kind of movies I always love because I feel like I don't run too far with theories, too early on to where it actually makes it play out really fun for me. So, yeah, I was happy to see Margot. Like I said, I would have been pissed if she actually got stuck being responsible for it, which I figured it wouldn't end that way, but I really wasn't sure. But yeah, these last couple of scenes are great. I love when, like, some of my favorite moments are when they're looking through the window
Yeah.
and like, what is he doing now? And he's like telling them. I think that those are just fantastic the way they're shot. So yeah, I love the like parallels of Margot doing it and then Tony doing it and watching how that all plays out. And then like the look on his face when he discovers the key. He knows that he's been caught. He knows that he's about to probably go to jail. Apparently, maybe not get murdered like
Yeah.
she was going to be.
Maybe it's because he didn't have the exact hand on murdering, maybe. But like he'd hired someone to murder someone, so I feel like he should still be
No,
killed, right?
yeah, it's not fair. It's really extreme measures either way.
That wasn't me saying that he shouldn't get the same punishment.
No,
But
I know what you mean.
but maybe he should be promoted, is what I'm saying. Have another shot. Give him another, put him back in the ring.
Maybe. But yeah, no, I do. I love these last like 20 minutes. I think they're fantastic. And I think it like really brought me back in um, to the movie as far as the suspense and kind of not knowing what was going to happen after that. The trial scene kind of took me out of it just ever so slightly because it was pretty dark, like the way they shot it
Mm,
and had the score going. So I was a little nervous for her for a second. So yeah, I enjoyed watching this unfold. And I think it's a fantastic, what do you call it? Like a mystery thriller suspense. It kind of fits all those categories.
yeah.
And it just made me more excited to watch more Hitchcock. Like it wasn't my personal favorite, but I still think it's a great one. And I think the acting's really good and the script's really good, like you said. And the closed setting works really well. And I'm a play lover, so I feel like these kind of movies work really well for me. Same as like, 12 Angry Men, just all those kind of movies where they very much feel like plays.
Oh
I
yeah.
think it works very well. So I give it a high 4 out of 5. And I
Nice.
definitely would be down to watch this one again in like a year or two and kind of see how I feel about it. So
Oh yeah. No, I echo everything you say. I think that this final act is kind of the best part, because we know that, like in like normal thrillers and murder stories, it's all about who killed who. But like we know who killed them this time, but it's all about like what's the aspect that's going to foil the plan, and that's kind of like what the twist kind of is. So I agree.
yes.
Like them not showing anything about the key kind of like allows that twist element to still happen, and that like unveiling of the mystery to still happen, which I think is awesome, and they did it kind of perfectly. And it's just all down to just the use of a key, because they kind of allude to it early when because I think the inspector was kind of like looking for it, and he dropped his key on the floor purposely and picked it up and goes, "Is this yours?" And he looked at Tony's, and they were the exact same. He goes, "They're all the
Mm.
same. That's what's annoying about it." And so I think they alluded to it that way, and I thought the whole foiling of it at the end was awesome, and that everyone had a kind of a part to play.
Mhm.
Mark's a bit of a little bitch, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. But yeah, I love this film. I think this movie is great. Again, as I said at the top of the show, like it lives and dies on its script, and the script is brilliant. I've given it a great 4.5 out of 5.
Mhm.
I'm keen to rewatch it, to be honest. It's on at my local cinema in like a month, so I might just go up and watch it again, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you definitely should. I feel like seeing it again would definitely create aspects of like, ooh, I caught on to that early, or
Mm.
things like that in these types of movies. You can definitely catch things when you sort of know the direction it's going. I also want to recommend one other movie to you that I doubt you've seen because it's not very watched, but it's called Elevator to the Gallows.
Elevator to the
It's a
gallows.
French film, but it has a really similar type of plot. It's basically like a businessman murders his boss because the boss's wife is his mistress. So
Awesome.
it's like an affair situation with like a murder going on, but in a different direction than this one. And they have like all these crazy things that happen to them, like trying to, you'll have to just kind of play it out. But it's
Oh
really
yeah.
interesting. And it's a similar type of vibe to this one, I feel like.
Just added it to my watch list. Thank you, Ash.
Of
That was awesome.
course.
Well, that is our review for Dial M for Murder, our first film of the month of Hitchcock. Next week we are watching. Sorry, I'm scrolling down. Next week we are watching. Oh, we're watching Rear Window. There we go.
Mhm.
Finally, hell yeah. I can't wait to rewatch that. This will not be a first watch for me, but this will be a first watch for you, Ash. Yeah, the
Not
only
Disturbia. We're watching Rear Window.
we can do back to back. You want to do back to back? I can change it right now. We can do back to back. You want to do back to back? We'll do
Yeah.
back to back then. We'll do Rear Window and Disturbia.
Can you imagine?
That'd be great fun. Yeah, so watch Rear Window for next week. But until then, we'll go into our little game of the show to kind of edge it all off, cover it all off. We're a big fan of movie twists, Ash. So we just want to do like a little draft of a 5v5 of the best movie twists, in our opinion. Yeah, which is good fun. It could be kind of anything that you kind of want, I guess. But I did the random wheel generator, and Ash, I did come first in the random wheel generator.
I believe you.
Which is actually kind of the first time in a while that I think I've had first pick, which I'm kind of keen for. So,
Yeah. It's been a minute since we've done a draft, just the two of us, and you went first. Yeah, usually I feel like I end up going first. I'm actually kind of excited for you to go first because I like want to feel out the vibe of where you're going with this.
yeah, well, I'm going to go with the best movie twist of all time, which
Okay,
is No, I Am Your Father from Empire Strikes Back.
fair. That is a shocker.
Yeah,
I
that's
haven't
my.
seen that movie in so long. It's been a
It
minute.
needs a rewatch then.
It does. It really does. Okay.
By the way,
Feel so
yeah,
much.
I'll name the movie, and then if you say they haven't seen it, then I just won't say the twist, and
Okay.
people listening who've seen it would know the twist.
Got it. Yeah, no, I definitely know that one.
I knew that you would. Yeah, I knew that you would. Also, shout out to your. Is it? Are they called chest bursters when like with the thing that's on your wall from Alien?
Yeah, I don't know what
The crawlers. What are they called?
crawlers, I guess. Yeah. Oh, yeah. My husband brought this back for me from Comic-Con. Those of you who are watching can see, but I have a new little buddy in my office because he got to go to the Alien Romulus panel and see Kaylee Spaney in person, the queen herself.
They're face huggers.
Yes, face huggers. There you
That's
go.
it. So
Um,
that's really cool. Kaylee Spaney in the same room. Holy smokes!
I know, right?
Wow, what was that aura like?
I don't know. Even Fede Alvarez, he was looking pretty like sharp. He had like his hair all grown out and he's all
He's
gray, but it works,
it
It looks
works.
good.
It works.
Okay. I
All right.
feel like I have to go with this movie because it shocked me to my core. I only just watched this movie for the first time, like late last year. Old Boy. I'll never
Oh,
get over
good
it.
one.
It gives me the ick thinking about it. It's just such a crazy twist.
Yeah, well done. Well done. I don't know. I'm gonna call it Family Feud. Which is what I'll call that twist
Oh,
name.
family. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
That's
mean?
one way to put it.
Nice one. Number two. I know that you will probably take this if I don't, so I'm going to. I think this is the best twist in horror.
Hmm.
There are two ghost faces in Scream. Yes, yes.
I wore my Scream shirt because I was planning on picking that next. So good
Yeah,
call.
nice one.
Cool. Okay. Well, I'll go with another horror actually because I want to have one on my list. Not the same type of horror film, but I think that the Get Out twist the first
Yeah,
time you watch it is killer. Obviously, when you know it's going to happen, okay, fine, but I still enjoy it even with knowing the twist.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I still remember the first time I saw that movie and she started jiggling her keys around and then you just see her face switch. I was like, "Holy shit, like what's happening?"
Oath. Yeah, I had that one written out as well. The Armitages are part of a sick cult that auctions off black people into wealthy white buyers who then surgically transplant their consciousness into the genetically advantaged bodies that they purchase.
Only Jordan Peele could think of this
I
idea.
thought it was really cool.
Insane.
Oh, yeah. Nice. All right. Number three. Ooh, I was going to take Get Out. Well done. I'll leave that one till last, I think. Do I do another horror? I'm not. I'm going to do sci-fi. I'm going to do Arrival. You seen Arrival?
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Arrival one, of course. While we're watching a linear film, while we aren't watching a linear film, we're actually watching a palindromatic film. As Dr. Banks hacks the hectopod's language, we learn that their means of communication isn't linear. They know the ending as they're writing the beginning, applying the revelation of the film's narrative that when Dr. Banks gives birth to her daughter, she already knows that gives birth to a baby who will die young. She knows her baby's story will end before it's ever begins. Furthermore, she names her baby Hannah, which is a palindrome.
I just got chills.
It's pretty good, eh? It's fucking
Movie
good.
so emotional. It's a very emotional sci-fi. I feel like it's probably the most emotional sci-fi movie that exists. I can't think of one that's quite that emotional.
Oh man, the movie's it's up there with one of my favorite sci-fis of all time.
Yeah, it's great. Good one. Okay. What vibe do I want to go for next? I feel like it wouldn't be true to myself if I didn't pick this movie, but I feel like I can wait on it. So I'm gonna see if I can snag one more like big one. I think I'll take Parasite. I feel like this
Nice.
movie, like there's multiple twists. It's not just like one thing, but it's shocking. Like
Yeah,
the first time you watch it, you're just like, wait, what is happening? I think it's one of the best movies just ever. But yeah, great thriller.
unbelievable. Well done. I'm gonna name that one. There's something in the basement.
Yeah, definitely something in the basement.
There's
Holy
definitely something in the basement. Nice one. I could go that. I might take that for us. I don't think you'll take that, so I'll take that for my 5th round. Oh. Do I go iconic? I should go iconic, shouldn't I?
yeah,
I'm gonna go iconic. I'm gonna go The Sixth Sense.
yeah.
Um, with Bruce Willis is dead the entire time.
That was definitely on my list. I was gonna take that next.
Yeah,
So next
cool.
one. That's one of the biggest movie twists I feel like in movie history.
Yeah, it needs to happen.
Nice. Okay. This is tough.
I know.
I have one that to me is just it's so much fun and it's not like a serious movie by any
Okay.
means, but I gotta take Crazy Stupid Love. I just
Ooh.
rewatched it.
David Lindhagen.
I mean, it's just like when you haven't seen it, that's probably the biggest reveal in a movie ever. Like all the characters intertwining for the first time. It's just your jaw's on the floor. And it's still so much fun to
Well
rewatch.
done. I didn't even have that written down. That's awesome.
Totally different vibe. It's not a thriller movie. It's not a traditional twist, but it's still a twist.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to finish mine out with Fight Club.
Okay.
The narrator is suffering from DID, dissociative identity disorder, and he and Tyler Durden are the same person.
Yep. I had that on my list. I wasn't sure if you'd take it because I know you don't love that movie as much as I do, but I don't know. I feel like Fight Club is just it's been so tainted that I'm always afraid to pick it on a track.
Yeah.
It's not really fair that it has, but it has been. Okay, nice. I have a couple left that I'm not quite sure which direction to go. I feel like one is very me, one might be more of like a crowd pleaser, but I'm gonna take Memento. I still think this is one of
Nice.
Nolan's best, most underrated movies. I absolutely love it, and I think the twist in it is just absolutely insane.
Yeah. Leonard's wife survived the home invasion, but he accidentally killed her later.
John G was dead
Yeah.
before she was even dead.
Exactly.
Guy Pearce is fantastic in that movie. I really wish he would do more stuff.
He's so good. Love him. Is he Australian? I think he might be Australian.
He might be.
Guy Pearce is
He's from the
Australian.
UK.
He's
He's from the UK. Yeah.
Guy Pearce is an Australian actor.
It says
Oh,
it says he was born in the United
born in
Kingdom.
the UK, but is Australian.
Well, there you go.
Maybe he grew up in Australia. I don't know. Who cares? Either way, he's not. I don't know. I don't know what I was
Love
going with
that.
that. He's not Irish. But so to recap, I had Empire Strikes Back. No, I Am Your Father. Scream. There were two ghost faces. Arrival with the non-linear storytelling. Sixth Sense. Bruce Willis is a ghost. Fight Club. Tyler is the narrator. Ash had Old Boy. Family Feud. Get Out. White Cult. Parasite. There's something in the basement. Crazy Stupid Love. David Lindhagen. And Memento. Rip Wife.
I love that. That's perfect description of all of those.
Right, not bad. Ones that I had down that we didn't pick, Psycho, where Bates murdered his mother years before, then developed a split personality that made him believe that he was his mother, and he murdered Marion disguised as his mother. The one that I was like, I really want to take, Saw. Saw is a really good
Such
movie,
a good twist.
but the ending of when the dead body in the middle of the film isn't quite dead and
Uh-huh.
it's Jigsaw, game over.
Oh,
It's
so good. So
Oh,
good.
I was talking to my friends the other day of like, if I was in the UFC, if anyone was in the UFC, what would your walkout music be? And I said, no question in my mind, the Saw theme song. Dun 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 dun
So
dun 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 dun
epic.
dun
Yeah.
dun dun dun.
The first one's really well done. Like Harry Elway's is just
So
he's just
good,
amazing. But yeah,
so
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 good.
good, so good. Well done, Ash.
Those are your
Um,
only two honorable mentions?
yeah. What did you have? Do you
Oh,
have any
okay. I
others?
was gonna mention Gone Girl, which I know if you've read the
Nice.
book, maybe it's not a like reveal, but I had never read the book when I watched the movie, so that was a big one for me. Knives Out,
Yep. Absolutely.
uh, The Prestige.
Yep. Oh yeah.
That's pretty much
Prestige
all
is a
I
great
have.
one. I remember seeing Gone Girl for the first time. I had read the book, but I loved the movie. The movie's great. My one complaint is I just think Ben Affleck's miscast because you're not supposed
Yeah.
to like him at all, and you start the film, you're like, oh, it's Ben Affleck. But I remember seeing that movie on day one, and I went into the bathroom after, and there's like all these guys, like just at the urinals and stuff, and one guy's just like, everyone just see Gone Girl, and I was like, yeah. He goes, never getting married.
Okay.
Yeah, because that was the reason.
Yeah.
No one's asking you to get married, pal. But that is the end of the episode of, I think, what are we up to? 43 or something? 43, 44?
Something like that.
Yeah, something crazy. Next week, please watch Rear Window. Keep up to date with the conversations. Let us know. Message into the show. Let us know what you think about Dial for Murder and Rear Window. And if you have any suggestions about month topics, we're kind of booked until the end of October, I believe. But we'll get, we should probably start thinking about November soonish, I reckon, probably.
Mhm.
We'll think about it. It's all good. But until then, I'm Harry. That's Ash. All the links are in the bio. There's Love, Death, the movies. We'll see you at the movies.